Hello everybody and welcome back to the Dragon's Library. So today I am finally reviewing Season 1 of Netflix adaptation of the hit anime One Piece. Now, for those of you who don't know what this is, well, you probably don't really watch anime or read manga. So One Piece is an ongoing anime and manga series that started over 2 decades ago in 1997 by Eiichiro Oda. It's set in a fantastical world made mostly of islands and open ocean. The story follows a young pirate called Monkey D. Luffy in his quest to find a mythical treasure left behind by the former king of the pirates, Gold D. Roger. Cue the clip.
Wealth, fame, power. Gold Roger, the king of the pirates, attained this and everything else the world had to offer. And his dying words drove countless souls to the seas.
You want my treasure? You can have it. I left everything I gathered together in one place. Now you just have to find it.
These words lured men to the Grand Line in pursuit of dreams greater than they'd ever dared to imagine. This is the time known as the Great Pirate Era.
The One Piece anime and manga are some of the longest serialized media in existence. The manga is only a few months younger than I am, and is currently spanning over 106 volumes, which is quite frankly absurd. The series is dense, and attempting to summarize the entire plot or describe the world itself is a daunting task. There are so many interesting parts of it, and Eiichiro Oda is very good at world building. But I have decided to focus mostly on the details you need to know for the sake of the Netflix series, which follows the first major arc before they get to the Grand Line. One Piece exists in a world of mostly ocean, like I said before, with a world government and a navy as the main military force and a source of antagonists for the main crew. There is a single continent wrapped vertically around the planet, and everything else is an island. In this world, there also exist supernatural powers, mostly, as you'll see in the first season, via devil fruits. Supernatural fruits that give anyone who takes the first bite from them supernatural powers. The user then gains these abilities, and when they die, a new fruit pops into existence somewhere in the world. This power can be literally anything, but usually divides between animal transformations, elemental control, and then everything else. Paramecia fruits are just weird. However, in exchange for this power, devil fruits rob their user of the ability to swim, and when submerged in seawater, the user becomes weak and often loses their powers unless the power is a permanent change on the body, but for the most part it's a technicality. Luffy, the main character, is a constantly happy guy who ate the gum gum fruit when he was a kid. This turned his body into a kind of living super rubber. He can stretch himself like a rubber band, inflate like a balloon, and generally act like a living cartoon character. He even does like the whole stretchy wind-up punches as his main attack method, sort of like what you see in Popeye or Looney Tunes. After an initial incident, he quickly begins gathering a crew, first a swordsman who can wield 3 swords at once, Romanor Zoro, who has a somewhat tragic backstory, a navigator and thief with a tragic backstory called Nami. As the crew set out on their journey, to reach the Grand Line, they pick up 2 more crewmates in this coming season and arc, Usopp, a cowardly slingshot sharpshooter with a penchant for exaggeration and lies, and Sanji, a cook that can literally kick your ass without ever using his hands. The world of One Piece is a world full of adventure and peril. Rival pirates and military dog our protagonists at every turn. Now, you may know what One Piece is about, and I'm sure a lot of you are thinking that this seems like a really weird and, quite frankly, maybe suicidal thing for Netflix to adapt. I mean, especially Netflix, of all the streaming services. A live-action adaptation of a fictional setting whose main character is essentially a living cartoon character, and would need over a dozen seasons to even catch up to where the manga is now, much less finished because the manga is still ongoing. Oh, it's also an anime and manga adaptation because we know how good any Western studio, particularly Netflix, has been at those. Death Note, FMA. So when I heard this was happening, I kind of just rolled my eyes at the absurdity and was like, yeah, it's going to get canceled after 1 season, it's probably going to be bad. However, having finally watched the show, I will, somewhat grudgingly, admit that I was pleasantly surprised and a little wrong. We now have at least 3 good live-action anime adaptations to put alongside Alita Battle Angel and Speed Racer. The show is not exactly the same tone as the anime. While the show never shied away from some of the truly horrific backstories and contents, it definitely leans into the pirates being more brutal in the live-action version. Likely to compensate for the fact that the limited effects budget mean they can't do as much physical comedy and slapstick with Luffy's, rubbery powers. The best example of this was a circus with the clown pirate Bucky. He has the ability to split himself into multiple pieces because he ate the chop fruit. In the show, he was played as more of like a joke. Like, the whole thing is that he has a naturally red clown nose, They actually still have that in the anime, which is pretty funny. However, here he's introduced with a circus that he's enslaved the townfolk of a place he destroyed to serve as a literal captive audience. Chains around the arms, hold up a sign, you laugh now or you die thing, even threatens the kid. Still, despite how that sounds, it's less of a change to the source material and more of a shifting of the focus. I could definitely have seen Buggy from the anime doing that. He was brutal at times, he just, they usually played him as kind of a joke villain. There were still plenty of things that were way more brutal. I mean, half the Straw Hat Pirates, at a minimum, have some of the most brutal backstories I've seen in a series that wasn't trying to be really, really edgy on purpose. Because One Piece is generally fairly lighthearted, it just doesn't shy away from the darker aspects of its work. The actors also do a very good job. The person playing Luffy is eager and excitable, like he should be. Nami is practical and focused. Zoro is always tired of this shit and really wants to fight. It's all great. However, there is one area I find a bit awkward, and that is the effects. First up, Luffy and other Devil Fruit powers look about as good as they can get. I'm going to give them credit for that. I think this might be some of the best stretchy, I'm a rubber band human effects I've ever seen in any live action thing, and I know how bad those can be because I've seen all 3 of the Fantastic Four movies, or the first 2 and then Fantastic Four Stick, because that movie's bad. The fish people look alright, and all the designs are taken straight from the anime and manga. The only thing I can really notice that they didn't have was Usopp's nose. And the thing is, that looks kind of weird in live action. Not necessarily bad, but odd. Nami's orange hair isn't red, like a redhead's. It's this bright, almost like neon orange. Zoro likely has this bright mint green hair. And he does in fact wield a sword in his mouth for the 3-sword style, but the fights where he uses that sword are few and far between, likely because it was a strain to keep having him doing it, and I'm worried as they continue to fight, it's going to take something away from his unique style. It was a very iconic part of the anime. It looked a little ridiculous at times, but it was pretty cool. Still, despite some of these things looking odd in live action and probably having to be limited due to effects budgets, that doesn't mean they were badly implemented. And this led me to a dilemma with this show. See, I think this is one of the most faithful anime adaptations I've ever seen, even compared to things like Alita Battle Angel and Speed Racer, and maybe that Phoenix Wright movie from Japan that I never saw. But I feel like even attempting to adapt something like One Piece is a Sisyphean task. Apparently Eiichiro Oda was brought on board for this, and it does show. However, even if you do everything as well as it can feasibly be done, One Piece, in my opinion, is inherently ill-suited to live action as a medium. At least, in my personal opinion, that's the case. Let me be clear, though. I think this show, when judged by what it set out to do, is quite frankly a miracle. Even if I doubt they can keep going long enough to ever finish, I mean, Netflix cancels 90% of their shit before it hits the 3rd season, it may be the greatest live-action anime adaptation I've ever seen, and I think might ever be made. But I think this world and this story are hampered by some of the limitations of this new medium, and it loses a lot of the cartoony energy that feels so entertaining within the original work. Again, this is all my opinion, you can form your own stuff, and I do think this is a very good and enjoyable show. Now, this causes problems for my final rating of a series, partially due to the way I score stuff. For me, a 10 out of 10 isn't a sign of something that's perfect, it's a sign that something is worth watching and that was executed in the best way feasibly possible. A 9 out of 10 means it is amazing, but had a few minor issues that hold it back. A part of me wants to give One Piece a 9 out of 10, because I feel it was hampered by the medium it was adapted to, with live action. But by my own metrics, it also kind of deserves a 10 out of 10 for executing a live action adaptation of an anime as flawlessly as it could. So, after much deliberation and talking over my friends, I, despite my complaints, do indeed award this show a 10 out of 10. I don't think Netflix will be able to keep it up. Either the quality's going to slip or they're going to cancel it. I still don't know how they were going to go do the tiny reindeer Dr. Chopper, or some of the later arcs go just completely crazy with some of the islands, like a giant sky island in the clouds, or a candy island. It's basically like Hansel and Gretel's witch hut, but an entire freaking country. And I think this does have some value. It was actually interesting to see how anime translates. So, yeah, I think you should go watch this if that wasn't clear. And then watch the anime after finding out what filler episodes you need to skip, because good gods, before the time skip, there is so much filler you need to just figure out what you need to go through. Anyway, moving on from there, I'm going to be going over the City of Dusk and its sequel soon. I'm in the middle of reading the sequel. I'm almost done. And in addition to that, I will also be doing Castlevania, that new adaptation. I believe it's called like Nightfall or something like that. It's going to be interesting. It's basically a French Revolution with Castlevania. So I think that's a cool setting. You do the nobles as vampires, waiting for some prophesied vampire queen to rise. Sounds cool. Sounds awesome. Looks fun. People who did Castlevania are still on their A game with the animation from what I can tell from the trailer. So yeah, all looks good, and I guess we can move on to the end credits. So, we got the end card here, we got a video YouTube recommends, got a playlist, got my subscribe orb. Go to all of those. First go to the subscribe orb, then go to these videos. They're cool. So yeah, I will see you all next time. Bye.